then I have to go and add just SSH. So now I type in transport input SSH. Okay? And if we exit out and do the show run, we'll see that at the bottom there, you're now only seeing SSH after the transport input. And this is also where we get reminded that the VTY lines, a lot of people call them telnet lines, but they're terminal lines. And there are several protocols, telnet and SSH, for example, that can be used to connect over those terminal lines. Notice that they are split always when we look at them in the show run, 0 through 4 and then 5 through 15. And the 0 through 4 are considered the default terminal lines, and then the ones beyond that are considered the optional terminal lines. But remember, however many you configure, and you only have to configure 0 through 4 if that's all if that's the maximum number of people that would ever connect simultaneously. But if you have more people than 5 that would simultaneously connect to the device, then you would want to configure beyond the 4. So 0 through 4 is 5 total, and then 5 through 15 adds another 11, and so that's 16 total. Alright, so now we are ready to do one more show command. And this show command will give us information about our keys. So we're going to do show crypto key, my pub key, RSA. And you can just see what time the key pair was generated, and see that it's a general purpose key that's non-exportable, and then you get to see a bunch of the hexadecimal that has to do with it. Anyway, that proves that the key was generated. And we'll end with a copy run start. Alright, then we're ready to test this and see if we can connect with SSH and see that we are not able to connect with Telnet. Alright, so here we are going in through TerraTerm, and we're going to choose to use TCP/IP and Telnet, and hopefully it will not let us in. And it says the connection is refused. That's a good sign. Now let's try SSH instead. Come down, TerraTerm, choose SSH, which it is on by default. Click OK, and this time we are asked for a username and password. Click OK, and there we go, we're in. So now these are encrypted communications. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but in my CCNA classes, I'll have the students run a packet sniffer as they log on to a device using Telnet, and then we'll follow the stream in the packet sniffer to see that the information was very easy to see and piece back together, the username and the password. And so that's why you definitely want to use SSH in secure environments. Alright, so just to do that for you very quickly here, I have gone back into the 1841 and allowed Telnet so that I can show you how a packet sniffer can easily pick up the username and password when you use Telnet. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that and start a brand new capture from the device that will be beginning the Telnet session. Alright, so this capture has begun, and I'm going to go now into TerraTerm and begin a regular Telnet session to the device. As I'm prompted for username and password, that information is picked up by the packet sniffer, and now I stop the capture. Now I'm going to go into Analyze and ask it to follow a certain TCP stream. So first I want to try to find a little bit of that conversation there. Here we go. There's my Telnet protocol being used between my client and the router. And so anyway, I'm going to right click there, and I'm going to follow the TCP stream and take a look. Nice and clear as day, admin and Palestra. So you got to be really careful. You definitely don't just want to use Telnet if there's any chance of someone being able to sniff the traffic between the person who's telnetting into the device and that device. So that's why SSH is so much more secure. Watch as I do the same thing, packet sniff the same thing using an SSH session. Okay, so now I restart the capture. And I want to clear my filter. Now I'm going into TerraTerm and I'm going to start an SSH session. Hit enter and I'm in. Just going to type in a few more things. Alright, so now I'm going back to the packet sniffer and I'm going to stop that. And here's where the SSH protocol is being used between my client and the router. I'm going to follow the TCP stream to pick up all of that conversation. And just notice here you can see the use of Diffie-Hellman and all of the encryption and hash algorithms. There's evidence of that taking place here. And just nothing that we can find here that would equate to anything usable. So you could take this right out and put it in a text file and search for either admin or Palestra and you wouldn't find it in there because, like I said, it's all encrypted. Okay, so now we're going to connect to the 2620 that we have and configure the same thing, SSH, but this time using the Security Device Manager. Helps if you type in a password. So admin and Palestra. And then one more time. And we're in. Once we're into the SDM, we want to go to the Configure button and then once there, we want to go down to the bottom on the left pane to Additional Tasks. Alright, under the router properties, one of the first things we're going to do is the same thing that we did first in the command line interface. We set the domain name, and this is for key generation. So we go into router properties, and here under domain name, this time we'll use palestratraining.com. Click OK. Whoops, I didn't put the .com there at the end. .com. Click OK. And there we go. Once we did that, we next generated the keys. And the way that you do that here is under Router Access and SSH. So step 2 is to generate the RSA keys. This button would not be available if they were already there. So you'll notice that after we generate them, the button's going to gray out. And we choose the modulus size of 1024, the same way we did earlier. Remember the command was crypto key generate RSA, general-keys, and then modulus. And you chose the modulus size. Click OK. And it's asking what the SSH username and password is. And we hit enter. And it takes it a second to generate the RSA keys. Okay, but when it's done, you'll see it says RSA key exists and SSH is enabled on the router. Don't let that fool you. Yes, it's the RSA key for SSH has been created, but we still need to go in and remember when we typed in transport input SSH and we disabled the use of Telnet, that type of thing, we still have to go into the terminal lines and configure that. So under VTY here in the same area, we can see 0 through 4 and 5 through 15. We're going to make